Right. Welcome, everybody who is hanging out. We're gonna try this again. I'm going for redemption. I got to do this. This is really, for myself here. I faced some serious technical difficulties last time, which I think is cool. Got to start off with that kind of crazy beginning, right? Big things have humble beginnings, where the guy who's supposed to be doing the stream just completely breaks his equipment by unplugging shit and then plugging it back in and then hoping that it's going to work, like during a live stream. So, that was kind of on me. So if you're coming back in and if you watched part of one before, thank you. And thanks for coming back in and hanging out. I gotta say I'm kind of misleading you guys because I think the description mentioned something about me drinking beer, but I'm all out of beer, so I'm actually gonna finish off this bottle of craft artisanal mezcal, which I think is a fair substitute for beer drinking. Um, that's good. That tastes like smoke, like a fine tequila smoke. Um, let's get things started. So here we go. We'll remove the title. I've got some pretty cool ideas for some encounters today, or for an encounter. So we're gonna start off laying down the foundation for that. So big platforming inspiration on this one. Really inspired by platformers here. So first I want to get like some tiles laid down that I can kind of use. So I'm gonna do like some squares here, and they might not be perfectly square, and I'm not too concerned with that. See if we can get the squares to show up. Make sure I'm not already having technical difficulties. Oh no, that would be really sad. But we'll just keep fighting through them as per usual. I don't really know why Photoshop does this to me whenever I'm like trying to do something cool. But what we're gonna have here, big like platforming inspired encounter today is, I've kind of had this one on my mind for a little bit. I'm gonna get out some guides because I'm not really that good at drawing things. So we want to make sure that this at least comes out like vaguely square shaped. So we'll do that. We'll do that. I guess I don't really need these yet. We'll bring you guys out later. Bring the guides out later. What I do need, first thing, yeah, I think you're right. So the first thing I'm going to do is lay down this square. Uh-oh. Hopefully. We're going to lay down this square, and we're going to get some tiles going in. So like a common trap that we often face, or not like a trap, but like a section of a platformer game, is where you kind of like step on the tile, and then the tile starts shaking, and then it disappears on you, right? It drops down, it drops out of the way, and then you have to like hop to the next tile really quick. And it's just a good example of an environmental hazard that I think is really sweet for platforming. And you don't see stuff like that in Dungeons and Dragons too often because it can be really risky. In a platformer game, also, you got to make those jumps or you die and you start the level over again. And that is definitely not a pleasant experience in D&D, right? You don't want to just like have a character who you really enjoy And then you're like, yeah, let's do this platforming section. And then it's just like, all right, you fell to your death. Boom, game over. That was fun for your fresh character, right? Just plummeting right off the bat. So, oh man, oh no. See, we're wigging out. It's going all over the place. Really bugging out. We're gonna get these blocks down here and get you like a little section. Just something to work with from the beginning. These lines are too thick, and we'll go back and maybe make them a little bit finer. But the big inspiration, like I said, is that idea in platforming where you step on certain blocks, you know, and then they maybe fall away from you. And I think to get around that problem of where, you know, you don't want your players to plummet to their death, these platforms or these stones, these areas that you're going to step on are going to start to lift up, right? So it's going to be this opposite effect, right? Rather than dropping down and away, we're going to have these planks that raise up. And they're going to be all throughout. They're going to be a lot of different sections of them. And, you know, they'll just be levitating around. And then there's going to be a creature that is making this happen. And, you know, you're going to be fighting this thing as it ascends, right? So that way, as the combat goes on, the higher up you go, the more risky it becomes to jump from plank to plank. Oh, my boy. Dane's in here. Oh man. You know, just starting off the stream here with some little bit of some technical difficulties as per usual. I'm trying to close down all of my other programs and every other possible thing that I might be using. I'm just glad that you guys can hear me this time. And I'm not going to just go and pull out one of the... oh, there we go. Nice. I'm not just going to go and pull out one of the plugs like I did last time. Because that was a really, really dumb mistake on my part. So we're going to get... We got this square. And we'll come back. We'll mess around with these. But... what I'm imagining, too, is we're going to have this big monster, right? So this monster is going to be levitating up these tiles, and then the tiles, right, are going to be kind of moving around a little bit on their own, and you're going to have to jump from tile to tile to then fight this monster, which I think is going to be very, like, monkey-like, you know? It's going to have at least 4 hands, 4 arms, right? And it's going to be able to like grab onto and swing around from tile to tile. In fact, you know what? We're just going to start here. So we'll get rid of some lines. Let's do a little bit of stuff. Do a little bit of cleanup there. And I'm going to start making some cracks. I really like to have these like just kind of strange, nonsensical texture looking things, kind of like almost hypnotic looking patterns, just real scratchy. Maybe that might not be for everybody, but yeah, ascending action, exactly. And that's gonna be something that I'm talking about in when I finally can like do it and make it. It's been a bit of a process, but I've been working on this video called 3-round combat. And what 3-round combat is, it just is exactly what it sounds like, where combat is going to be 3 rounds. And the first round is like your rising action, and then the second round is going to be like not quite the climax, you know, but it's going to be the build up, and then the third action is like the climax, and that's where it all sort of goes down. And then you can kind of end combat with this sort of like resolution step, where you see what everybody kind of wants to do from there. And it might be one of the things for it might be like, oh well, we're just gonna like actually keep fighting, and that's pretty cool. Or it could be things like chasing down fleeing enemies, or kind of whatever comes next in. It makes sense in the story, you know. It's a method of designing an encounter with the encounter progressing the story in mind. So yes, this monster, like literally having the ascending stones be part of the ascending action, is a really big part of that. Could be really cool. It'd be really cool if I could like, oh man, dude, what is it doing? It'd be really cool if this thing worked when I drew. Oh whoa, we got a moment of clarity there. There it was. We had it going. Here we go. Okay. All right. I gotta draw while I can, guys. It's working. So get these little sketchy doodads going. Nice little texture. And I don't have the greatest Photoshop workflow or anything. I don't have any cool secrets when it comes to actually photoshopping, and especially not in the drawing department. Nice. I'm kind of, you guys sort of make me nervous. I'm not gonna lie. Like, so right now, Chris, Dane, both you guys are actually really, really sick artists, and here I am, like a child with crayons, just fucking going. But I like doing these little, just kind of like lines. It's kind of therapeutic. Oh, Shane's in here. Nice. Thank you, Shane. Shane, you're a really good painter, though. I'm sorry I'm also just calling you all by your, like, real names. I feel like that's a weird thing to do on the internet sometimes. But also, it doesn't matter because you guys are the people who are going to watch this. We'll do this. So we'll get this block work going. Sorry. Um, and yeah. So these things are gonna like fly up and start raising up as the. I don't know if it's the creature levitating them, right? So these are questions. This is exactly how we started off with our turkey, our time warp turkey, planar turkey, and we really escalated that. And I bet we could do the same thing with this one here. So, all right, I'm gonna come back to this square later, and we're gonna throw on. So let's start taking. Let's think about the monster a little bit here. So, what I'm really into, guys, is just like a central mouth, right? Just get like a good central kind of mouth region. Start off with, what show drew really good mouths, is the show Ah Real Monsters. You guys remember Ah Real Monsters? Great mouths in that show. um, they all had just like giant like lips that were all like weirdly cracked and stuff like that. Big inspiration for me personally. So do this. We get some. When it comes to things like chompers, getting some good teeths in here. Um, what I like are, if I want to make it scary, it's like what would be the worst kind of teeth to be chewed by. And the answer to that is probably whale bristles. You know, whale bristles would be terrible. Just kind of like, I imagine if you just passed a body through, if you just passed a body through like a car wash a lot until it just kind of died, that would be pretty harsh. I don't want to go that far. So we're just going to do, yeah, we're just going to do like a human mouth because, you know, I like that feel too, where it's just like the monsters being related to humans in some way is always like a just nice little sort of icing on the cake. Yeah, yeah, they were seriously all mouths. Like what is it? Oblina, right? Was just like a black and white candy cane stick with then like a giant mouth and then big eyes. That was a cool show, man. I mean, that was kind of the Monsters Inc. just completely like 100% unapologetically like ripped that show off. I like Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. is great too, but um, so I think then the next question becomes here after we sort of lay down this mouthful region. Um, yeah, we'll get this kind of nice like little filtrum divot thing going here. Oh, oh yeah, that wants to taste somebody. Just get it lines, get it, all these lines in here. Um, boop boop. Eat you once, chew you twice. Ooh, yeah, that's true. That's pretty gross. Um, uh-oh. Oh man, come on, drawing pad. We were doing really good there for a minute. Hold it together. That's awesome. I need to hit up some museums. Maybe that could be like a thing that I should do some days. Go to the museum with like a sketchbook or something and just do that. I don't know if that's a cool thing to do or if that's a weird thing to do, but it feels like a good art thing to do. Still not quite getting. Still getting this little lag. Trying to wait for my cursor to come back here. Sometimes if I go to my mouse and I shake it, then it starts working again. Yeah, very true, very true. It is all about confidence. If you show up with a sketchbook, and just plop down in front of an exhibit and you start drawing, good or bad, as long as nobody sees you. See, I don't know if you guys are going to see my screen just go completely crazy here with like 1,500 things as it catches up. But if you show up to the museum with your sketchbook and you just look committed to it, you could totally just do it, right? Nice. Okay. That's very interesting. Um, so as I kind of just draw through this, I want to talk about some of the things that I was talking about last time and then sort of got cut off. So I apologize if you guys were here and I'm sort of repeating myself, but maybe we can talk about it in a little bit of a new light. Um, and at some point, it would be cool to try to take a caller. Let's bring up just real quick. I don't want to spend as much time as what I did last time on it, but I want to just bring up that idea of secret roles versus player facing roles. And again, like secret roles is that very classic old school D&D idea where as the DM you're going to roll for your players for things that they shouldn't necessarily know about or things that you really just don't want your players to metagame on, right? So that would be things like perception rolls. If somebody spots something, um, if somebody if there's somebody who's trying to sneak up on the party or there's a hidden door, rather than I don't know what these limbs coming off of this mouth are yet. I have no idea what they are. But there may be like a secret door, and you're not sure if you want the players to know about it or not, and you're excited to find out if they are going to find it. So rather than have your players roll spot and see that, oh, we did poorly, so we're all going to jump on that skill train and like dogpile it and then come up with reasons that we can, keep examining the area until we find the potential secret. Um, you know, the DM sort of rolls it, and then they're just like, you don't find anything. So you don't know if you rolled bad or good. Um, you know, it's a secret, roll. Um, and I definitely think that there's some there's definitely like some wisdom in there. There's some interesting game mechanics taking place there, and I think it's really good for newer players in a way to teach them how to like not metagame. Right? It's like, hey, someday you're gonna get to roll your own dice like a big kid, and whenever you do, don't just pretend that don't use that knowledge that you did well to influence your action. But player facing roles are awesome though too, because the player really just knows they get to be in charge, gives them a lot more agency, not just in the game but as a player. um, and I think it lets you build some cool stuff narratively. And I kind of mentioned this before as my little argument against player facing or secret roles, which is if you are doing if you're building a dungeon, right, especially if you're building a dungeon where they need to find the secret items, right? Like I'm imagining like this Legend of Zelda scenario where in Legend of Zelda you pretty much need to find the secret weapon in that dungeon to defeat the boss. You can do it without the boss, but it's definitely not easy. So you need that secret item to go and fight the boss. If you're building those kinds of encounters, then it's kind of pointless to make it so that your players don't find the cool thing that you hope they find, right? It's like a self-defeating prophecy or whatever. You want your players to find the cool shit that you put in the dungeon. So if they mess up in a way, it could be good storytelling to allow your players to roll their own dice. Hey, we don't find it, but we have a pretty good sense that there's something here. How through the narrative and through the story can we retry and maybe stumble upon the treasure that the dungeon master put in the dungeon for us. And that builds good players. Whenever you start thinking like that too, builds a good story, which means chances are you're a good player too. This thing maybe is like a spider. It might have like a spider on top of the mouth, and then this like lower part here is actually tiny hands. Whoa! I was about to do spikes. Not enough hairy little hands, guys, are the worst thing. What's worse than tiny hands? Anybody got anything that's like just... Imagine how much it sucks when someone touches you. You're just like, don't touch me. Now imagine if it was 100 tiny little hands. Oh. It'd be the worst. That's a bad tiny hand, guys. I could zoom in, I guess. That's probably like, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm is get close so I can actually like draw it right. Sometimes I forget it's not like paper. So yeah, when you have player facing roles, you can coach your players into shaping this cool story. It's like, well, how are you going to find it? And that's kind of interesting. And the secret role thing, there's definitely like some nostalgia there. Like if you're really doing this randomly generated, like rolling on a lot of random tables, and you just want to like sit back a little bit and really just referee your players through this like dungeon delve, like this dungeon delve simulation, that's totally cool. I think that sounds pretty fun. It's very different, and you're going to end up with a very different story from that. but that's definitely the old style way of doing things. I remember, like, whenever I first started playing D&D, like, the dudes that taught me how to play, like, we did secret rolls, right? I remember early games we did secret rolls. Like, I rolled my players' perceptions and rolled their stealth checks and stuff like that. But now I'm not so sure. I don't know. But I've heard now some people go to, like, great lengths to make the secret roll thing happen, but then, like, still let the players do it, where, like, the DM comes around with, like, a bowl and he holds it above, like, the players' heads as they sit down, and then, like, the player drops their D20 into the bowl, so that way, they still get to roll the die, but but they don't see the result. And I don't know. I guess that, I mean, if that's your thing, right? Everybody's got to have their own thing. That's definitely, like, there's, like, real big tension to that, Like, there's a lot of, like, theatrical, just out of game as a person experiencing that. That's pretty neat, but that's definitely kind of slow. It's not the fastest method, if you're trying to get through 20 rooms or something in a dungeon, you don't want to have to be roaming around holding a bowl above your players' heads all night. Like, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, it sounds like the worst of both worlds, literally. Like, Zooms for cheaters, yeah. And so I've been running a lot of games, a lot more games than Roll20, and that's also, like, another thing too, right? So we, in my one game, Lands Above. We got Wings Above here. Wings Above is a player in Lands Above, and he's awesome. He's, like, my veteran player in that game, and makes us really sick art, and it's really cool. But recently he helped everybody kind of, like, get their character sheets together in the Roll20, and there's 7 players in that game, 7 PCs, right? And a couple times we've had some combats, like that Otyug fight. Even that for me was, like, rough. I was trying to make it cool. I wanted to do some cool stuff with, like, the sludge water, but it was just a long game, with a lot of stuff between everybody's turns, and I don't think it was the best. And then we had the orc fight, which I thought was pretty sweet. I mean, we ran combat. That was like a 5-hour. It was literally, we just ran combat for 5 hours, 5.5 hours or so. And I thought it was pretty cool, though, because there was, like, story stuff that happened along the way. Like, one of the PCs made a pact with a demon. The guys were trying to not get boulders rolled down on top of them. The druid did, like, their wild shape for the first time. So there was some really cool story moments that happened, that made it just not this slog through this, like, long combat. At least I hope at least I hope it was entertaining. I had fun. And whoop, uh-oh. Bugging out again. Come on. But with Roll20 now, like, our last session, we got all the character sheet stuff programmed in, and I feel like we've just flew. We got a lot of stuff done. We did a really interesting encounter. I don't want to spoil it for other people, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, just in case that ever comes up. But they fought this demon, and there was a mansion that burned down where there was kind of like the PC's base, the player's base. And the mansion burned down, and people wanted stuff out of the mansion, right? So we were doing this sort of, like, mini game of running into the mansion and making making saving throws to, like, push through rooms of the manor and not get, like crushed by falling debris and, like, burned by smoke inhalation. And it's like, it's like a push your luck thing, where it's like the longer you stay in the mansion, the more treasure you might find, but then also, like, the more damage you're taking. And it was pretty cool. And we had, like, people pass out we had people hit the 0 hit points while they're like going through the mansion and stuff, and then other people had to come in and save them, and it was really sweet. So I think that worked out good too. And then also everybody got like lots of treasure and treasure that was relevant to their characters, and um, so I think that's some fun stuff that you can do whenever you have roll 20. Is you can start flying through a lot of the roles. It definitely makes it possible to do things like have 7 players in a game, um, when it's just like clicking a button, you know. And clicking that button can be tense. It's a tense sort of thing. Shane was the other day, the first time whenever we did this chat, we talked about, he brought up a question about like the action of rolling dice and how it sort of actually feels to roll dice and that sort of stuff. And um, I really like it whenever, the more public and transparent it is, like the more it feels like it's that gamble on the table. That's what you want. That's why I quit. I quit rolling dice in general, but then before I quit rolling dice in general, I would only I just made rolls in public. I quit rolling behind the screen unless it was like just some random roll and I happen to be standing behind the screen. But if it was like an attack roll, I would just roll all that stuff in public. I've become very much against fudging rolls. Don't fudge the rolls. It's a good little DM tip. It makes if you have players. Now I don't know if there's any DMs out here. Oh man, look at this guy. Yeah, flexing. If you have I don't know if you guys DM, who all in here may have DM'd before. Most of us, I think all of us. But if your players are used to you rolling like behind the screen and then like looking and doing that sort of stuff, and then you change it up to where you just step out in front of everybody and sling that D20 right on the table, they will, yeah, it changes it. They'll look at you like, like, dude, my DM's got like steel D20s, man. It's nasty. And I'm not gonna lie. I think Sam, I actually started doing that. I know you've almost always rolled in the open, and I was probably not against it before, back in the day. I'm sure I was at some point, but definitely it will heighten your game. And if you have a crappy night of rolling as the DM, so what? Your players will have a blast. If you have a great night of rolling and your players are having a crappy night of rolling, it doesn't matter. You're still gonna have a blast. I don't like what I'm doing with this guy's finger. I like the grossness of it, but I don't like its position. Oh, yeah. So player facing versus secret roles. I think some people are gonna start trying to bark up the secret role tree again, and people might try to like bring that back. But I think player facing roles are where it's at, and I think that they're kind of like they're there to stay. I think we already have a lot of games with player facing roles. Symbaroum, Blades in the Dark, it's all player facing. I think we're gonna get some. I think 6th edition is gonna go. They're either gonna come up with something like really weird to do to give you secret roles, or it's just all gonna be player facing because it's just faster. It's lets you just put more emphasis on the narrative. And if you have to fudge something, fudge it through the narrative, right? If you want to give your player like a second chance at something because they failed it the first time, like do it narratively. Don't just be like, just roll it again. I know I used to do that all the time. Like I would see somebody roll bad and I'd just be like, roll it again. And I'm really trying to break away from that and use that as either, it's part of the game and also as a way to take that bad moment and then turn it into something new, come back around at it. So if you guys are just jumping in, I think there's good idea. He does need a nub. I like that. Yeah, good call. Good call. So that's all that I would really want to talk about with that stuff. Otherwise, I'll just keep rambling about it. Oh, that's good. That's good right there. And then we talked about just the importance of session zero. Listen up. I ate too many almonds earlier. I got like little flecks of almonds in my teeth, and one just flew into the back of my mouth and was choking me. But we were talking about the importance of session zero also, and yeah, if you're gonna start DMing, definitely just do a session zero beforehand. What am I trying to accomplish by doing that? There's no white in there, so it's not gonna work. What am I doing? Definitely have a session zero if you're gonna start DMing, right? Just get all your players on the same page. Take the time, set it up, get everybody's expectations in the right place. Doesn't matter if your party is less experienced, first time gamers, super experienced gamers. It just lets everybody know stuff. Like, I was playing in a game run by Sam, who's in here, and I started coming up with this goblin who was gonna like try to free all of the other goblins and do all of this kind of crazy stuff and be like a crusader of the goblins and defy Maglubiot or whatever the goblin deity is, and like seize the lash and all kinds of stuff like that. And then it's like, well, actually there's like no goblins that are going to come up in this game at all, and this game pretty much like takes place completely underground. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to make a different character then. So whenever you have a session zero, you get everybody on the same page, and you can get everybody to like take their time and make a character that makes sense for the world, and you can kind of steer people in the right directions. I'll throw some shade at this one dude that I was playing with. This was a while ago. I know he's not in here, and even if he is, someday goes back and like watches this or something, that would be totally awesome. But he made a big mistake, which was like, he was trying to have way too much backstory going into what he was doing, and then he was trying to like make the backstory the main part of the campaign for him, sort of, and like not a cool way, like really trying to force it. He was kind of playing this like edgelord monk, from like the Shadow Islands, and he did like Shadow Monk stuff, and he was looking for the Shadow Cube and stuff, and we'd have moments in the game that would come up where I'd try to like hook him, like throw in some hooks, and it's like, oh man, these dudes also have ninja skills that are like shadow related. Maybe they're from your island. And he would be like, nah, they're not from my Shadow Island. They're not from there. That's not no. This thing, the shadow orb that we're looking for is way more powerful than that. No. And like, it's just like, okay, cool, dude, like you can be DM next time then. That's totally fine. And but a big part on it, looking back, is my fault. We probably should have had a session zero and planned this shit, and then I would have been able to kind of like steer him in the right direction from the beginning. So it does really help people out, and whether your players are brand new too, or it's people that you're gaming with for the first time, that's also a big one. And I mentioned this, I know, but just to say it again one more time, like, if you're gaming at like a store, or it's just people you don't know that well, just make sure that everybody's cool with like violence and or not violence, a lack of violence, or just different things that might get touched upon, because you just don't know. You don't want to say something as a DM and then like really put your foot in your mouth, which I do routinely, like every day of my life, regardless of me playing Dungeons and Dragons. So, just think about that stuff, because then you can avoid an awkward situation. Yeah. Let's see. Is anybody in the Podbean? I don't know. No. Here, let me throw the Podbean link in here. And I would like to see if we can just take a caller real quick, just because I want to see if I can make it work. throw the Podbean link in. You have to have the app, and you have to have your headphones plugged in to be able to make the Podbean call work. But it is like a pretty sick feature that I would totally enjoy having. Being able to take callers. Let's keep this here. What else did I want to talk about? So let's go back to the encounter. All right. Let's go back to our mouth monkey arm man. Oh, look at him. Oh, look at those fingers. Ooh, ooh. That's, oh, guys. Oh, jeez. Look at that. Look at that beautiful play right there. You know, it's like this, you got these tiny little hands right here, these little ones, and then it's like they're going to go in for it, and then it's like, zoop, they pass it over to this one, and it's like, boom, touchdown. I'm pretty sure that's how football announcing works, right? I think I should be a football announcer. Really good at drawing these lines. But anyway, see if we got no callers. That's all right. So this encounter, right? We're gonna have these tiles that float up out of the ground, platformer style, like straight up Legend of Zelda or Mario Bros, where you step on like the tile and then you have just like a very limited amount of time to get off said tile before it starts to like either break away and fall. So we're gonna do that, but instead of having the tiles like drop down into a pit, they're going to instead start raising up, right? So they're gonna start levitating off of the ground, right? And we're gonna get this like web work of tiles going around. And because this monkey man, and they're probably gonna be, they gotta be like pretty big sections, right? Because this monster, I don't think is very small. I think he's probably kind of big. I'm kind of worried about what we're gonna have here. This arm, I like Shane's idea of nubs here. This can just sort of be like a nub right now. But it's gonna be different, right? This can be like some modified stuff. So everybody's gonna be leaping around from tile to tile. Oh man, I'm on all over these layers also. This is not good. I gotta have like better layer recognition. So he's gonna be just leaping like a freak from one spot to the next. He's got this thing here, right? Chasing people around as they make their like ascent. It could be cool. Again, like we want to think of narrative stuff, and I'm thinking of 3-round combat, right? So first round of combat, everybody just gets in, and they probably find out that these tiles are going to start lifting up, right? And that's round one. That's not even in the combat yet. They just see that the tiles start raising up whenever they step on them. Maybe it's a feature that's just been happening throughout the dungeon, right? If this was like really solid, good game design, right? You would introduce that mechanic like one tile at a time right in the beginning, the second the player steps into this dungeon, right? And then you slowly make it more advanced where it goes on to like 2 tiles. And then you find out that you're going to have to fight like the boss on this web work of tiles. So it's like hopefully you've gotten to a level of mastery where you can platform across all the tiles and still fight the boss. But if we want to shrink that down and condense it into 3 rounds, then you would want your first round is like the monster comes out and starts, activating tiles, and people start, you got to take action, and you would probably want to position your players so that they're already on tiles that lift up, right? So that way they start combat and they're already like levitating a little bit. Here, this leg is going to break off into 2 arms. Maybe. So they start combat, they're already levitating up a little bit, and then this thing is at the bottom and is going to start like chasing them up the tiles, and it can like swing around from player to player. And I'm thinking too, Yeah. I'm thinking too, maybe this whole ascending tile business is like, it's not started by the monster, but like the players are doing it throughout the dungeon. Like they have some kind of like control unit or like magic wand thing that like lets them activate the tiles, right? So if this was like a sweet cyberpunk game, then you would be hacking the computer to activate the tiles that are going to like raise up. You know, you're activating these like lifting construction tiles, zooming around while the monkey beast, the monkey mouth gripper monster, comes to fight you. And he's just swinging around all like nimbly bimbly. Do that. Gorilla feet's good, but I just kind of, oh man, getting on these like Tyrannosaurus Rex toes kind of things, these like chicken feet sort of things going on over here. I'm gonna have to come back and fix this, but that's okay. Um, yeah, just give him some just strange dots and lines for toes here. There we go. Give him some nubules. So you're hacking the thing. You're hacking the construction equipment to like elevate you up, and you're activating these like drones. It could just be like drones too. You could be bouncing around from like drone platform to drone platform, almost like scaffolding, right? In the future, instead of having like scaffolding, it's just these like drone platform drones. So you have to like hack those, but then they're set up so that you can't just take one all the way up. You have to like hack multiple drones or something, to make it all the way to the top. So the first round is that, and it's part race, part chase. Is you're being chased by the monster, who is coming up, right? And that's something else that we can talk about, or that comes up in the 3-round combat video, is you want to elevate your combat so it's not just about the combat between you and the monster, right? You have some other kind of thing that you're trying to accomplish that is probably more important than you just fighting the monster, right? If you got to fight something to the death, that should be like a cool story point, right? That's like whenever you fight like a boss, or you have to make like a decision fast, because if you don't kill that monster, he's gonna like slay a family of farmers that's standing nearby or something like that, you know. So you introduce these kind of like dilemma sort of things, and it becomes like, it makes it so you're not just standing in front of the monster and trying to hit it every single turn for max damage till it dies, right? Make it so you got to make those choices. Okay, we got about 10 minutes to go. What's happening in the chat? Velociraptor claws. Yeah, they're like Velociraptor claws going on for sure. And they're split. I like what I've got going on with this dude, but this is a good little rough draft of him. I'll tell you guys, this is one of my favorite things to do as soon as I get control of my pen again. It's been just like as an effect. Oh, maybe we'll get there. Yeah, just as like an effect, we'll disappear our monster friend for now. Who knows what? Oh, that's there. Where's the tile? So on one of these there. No, that's the title. I made a square one time. There it is. Okay. So my favorite thing to do so far, everybody, with this drawing graphics tablet is to draw stuff and then just take the eraser tool and make it really tiny, and then just be like fit, and put these like little slashes through it. Oh my god, this is the most, oh, this is so satisfying right here. This was worth it alone, just like to be able to be like scribble, and like take away, to decompose this drawing a little bit. Oh man, the power, right? having been drawing with just pens and stuff for 30 years, pretty much like exclusively drawing with like Sharpie markers and Papermate Flare pens, like not being able to erase that stuff ever and then get this cool like little like broken up slashy line effect. That's the chef's kiss right there. It's really making it for me. So I like it a lot. If I'm gonna set these up in Roll20 though, I should probably try to get kind of fancy a little bit though, and maybe do like some like a little perspective kind of effect. We can make these like this. Do. Oh, maybe. I'm gonna have like 10 lines there in a second. There we go. Okay. Oh, man. Well, it's really starting to bog down. That's all right. So here for like the last 5-6 minutes, what should I talk about next week, guys? What would actually be interesting? I'd like to throw down. I know pretty much everybody in here is, I think, currently has like run some D&D before, but I know that there's some people that we know who might be interested in running like their very first D&D game, that sort of stuff, and that would be some really fun things to talk about as well. Just getting some rookies in here and just breaking them in and getting them to think about some stuff. But yeah, if there's anything else, if you guys got any cool ideas for videos, I mean, send them to me. Let me know. We talked about the 3-round combat a little bit. We touched upon it. I'm still working on the video for that. It's just like a lot to draw and animate and stuff because I'm trying to do nice animated videos. And by nice, I mean like mediocre at best. Because it's just so much work. It just is so much drawing. So that should be coming out soon. And then, yes, yeah, some cool hazing. The legal kind, the fine kind. I'll show you guys some stuff here that I've been working on then real quick kind of. So we got this character to look forward to. These are some different parts to him. This is going to be our little like Decompositions mascot sort of thing here. We got this I'm big Krang vibes, right? Just straight up Krang. Yeah. We could talk about other games. Yeah, totally. We could definitely talk about other games. Like, I'd love to play Mouse Guard. If you ever run a Mouse Guard game, I'd totally love to jump in on that because that's something that I like. I like that a lot. I've never gotten to play that. And then also Blades in the Dark, right? I know there's some people in here that might be looking to do some Blades in the Dark, and I would totally be down to talk about Blades in the Dark and the things that we could take from Blades and put into other games, right? And then one other thing I want to plug then too coming up will be eventually I gotta just trying to learn how to do like desktop publishing and animating and streaming all at the same time because why not? I'm working on this little document here is going to be, it's only 2 pages. I only have 2 pages in the Photoshop so far, but it's going to be the very first adventure in the Lands Below, whenever I first started running Lands Below. But then I went on and ran this same adventure like 3 or 4 times. So, I've come up with a lot of variations on it, and there's some cool things that I'm going to put in this. And this will be like an adventure that I'll put somewhere somehow so that people can like download it and have it. And it's very much oriented for people who are running D&D the first time, but then also with some of these other goofy concepts in here, like 3-round combat is going to be a big part of this, and planning for that sort of stuff is going to be a big part of it. Also, some just like neato random tables and things like that, so we can have like interesting variations on that lands below game. So that way, it's not exactly the same way that I ran it, because like shit, if you wanted that, then I might as well just write a book, right? I want this to be a module, so it shakes out differently every time. Yeah, I could try. I think drive through would be great. Yes, I'm using Photoshop for the page layout, which is completely insane. I have a program. I got it. It's called Scribus. It's the free version of or it's it's just a free publishing print thing. I just haven't messed around with it too much. But I'll probably put that stuff up on drive through whenever I get that far into making it, and that'll be really fun, really cool. I'm excited to someday hear that somebody else started an adventure that was in the lands below, and yeah, they just kind of started running with it. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I feel like, I'm still facing some technical difficulties here with the pen, with the graphics tablet and stuff, but overall, thank you for allowing me to redeem myself. I hope you all had fun listening in and hanging out for an hour. Let's do it again here next week, and then I'm gonna set a goal for myself to have the 3-round combat video out by the time of the next stream, so that way we can just delve in and maybe plan a couple combats using 3-round combat. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks so much. We're heading out. Keep decomposing.